And 2, you should always get you a Harry Douglas dancing. Like, what are we doing here?
Man, that's Uncle Luke, man. Come on, Fitz.
No, I know who it is. I wasn't questioning the music. I was questioning.
Fitz and Harry starting, January 3rd.
Right.
Every weekday.
Are you going to dance?
You better know about Uncle Luke.
No. What you know about dancing is what I'm trying to figure out. Because what is this? What are we doing here? Oh my God, this is
Uncle Luke, baby. That's Uncle
Luke. I'm supposed to be the one in this show that dances like a middle-aged white dude, not you. Okay.
So listen, my mom is from Miami. She's from Liberty City down south. So I know everything about Uncle Luke. The house parties back when you used to go to house parties, you didn't have to worry about this nonsense going on in the world. You go to the house parties, man, they play Uncle Luke. You know the rest from there. I don't need to say no more.
I was at a Super Bowl party a few years ago in Miami when he walked in, and I was like, oh, you know what just got different? Like, that's when you make the conscious decision. Now that he's here, I'm either going to stay until the sun comes up or I'm leaving. That's all I'm saying. It's Keyshawn, J. Will, and Max on ESPN Radio, the ESPN app, ESPN2. He's Harry Douglas. I'm Jason Fitz. We're presented by Progressive Insurance. And better to be lucky than good is something I say all the time because, frankly, we just want to see more football if you're a fan. Like, you just want to see your favorite team continue to play. In some years, it's good to be kissed by the football gods. The Vikings feel like this year they are kissed by the football gods. We keep hearing all these metrics about whether they're any good. I can't say this loud enough. I don't really care if they're any good if I'm a fan. All I know is that they're 11-0 this year in one-score games. 11-0. So I figured we could have a little bit of fun in the conversation about the number 2 seed in the NFC. We all know Philly's number 1, but the question is, who can take them on? Like the Vikings. 11-0, one-score games. That means, like, it's funny. There's a line where we sit there, Harry, and we're like, oh, they know how to win close games. Becomes, oh, they're just really lucky in the metrics. I don't know. Man, all I know is they keep winning these things that most teams lose.
Well, I think they've done a great job this year, and I think that was the dark cloud of the Minnesota Vikings a year ago, right? They couldn't win the close game, and it was one of the reasons why they didn't make the playoffs in 2021, but they've done a phenomenal job under head coach Kevin O'Connell, who's in his first year, who also should be up for Coach of the Year, even though their defense is 31st in the National Football League. That's the only thing that sticks out to me when it comes to, the Minnesota Vikings is that, their defense can, lack. And when I mean lack, you talk about a high-powered offense, the Philadelphia Eagles, they got thumped. You talk about the Dallas Cowboys, they got thumped by that team as well, 40-3. So when I look at the Vikings defense, I say to myself, can they hold up versus a quality opponent with an offensive system, that is bona fide? They did a great job going up in Buffalo, and not many people could go up in Buffalo when it's cold outside and win a game. They did a great job coming back and doing that then, but also Buffalo had some mistakes, right? Josh Allen fumbling the football on the 1-yard line to basically trying to win and to run the clock out. Had some other freak things happen in that game as well. 3rd and long, Justin Jefferson, he's phenomenal, making the one-handed catch on 4th down.
I mean, earlier you said Justin Jefferson, best wide receiver in the NFL right now. So when you've got let's just say a capable quarterback, I don't want to get into the Kirk Cousins debate. That's been done. Yeah. But when you have Justin Jefferson, when you got Thielen, I mean, there are weapons offensively. It is a big but. The defense is a big but because one thing that's different about this, and as you look at the other teams, it's a bigger threat that are threats to the Eagles. If we're talking about the Vikings, the 49ers, and the Cowboys, we are playing a big old game of one of these things is not like the other, and it's the Vikings defense. There is no trashier unit on the 3 teams between the Vikings, 49ers, and Cowboys. The most trash unit of all of those is the Vikings defense.
That's why I think they're going to have an early exit when it comes to playoff time because of their defense. Now, they have done a great job at certain moments in ball games, creating turnovers and getting the turnovers. Patrick Peterson and Zadarius Smith has been phenomenal for them. Danielle Hunter, and then you also have Harrison Smith. Those guys have been able to anchor this defense when they have been able to make, those splash plays and make plays that help them win football games. But when I look at the San Francisco 49ers, the San Francisco 49ers is a team right now that if they get the 2 seed, and the Eagles, they avoid playing each other. Right, into the NFC Championship game. And that's actually what I predicted. I predicted a while ago that the Philadelphia Eagles and the San Francisco 49ers will play for the NFC Championship game. You look at the Cowboys, they separate themselves defensively as well with the way they create turnovers, and then they have the chess piece in Micah Parsons. You look at the 49ers, they have the chess piece in Nick Bosa, who leads the NFL in sacks right now. Now, Danielle Hunter and Zadarius Smith, those are great guys on the front line, on the defensive line when it comes to the Minnesota Vikings. But they're not Michael Parsons. They aren't Nick Bosa.
Well, and when it comes to the 49ers, I mean, I jokingly have been saying this for weeks. You can't beat a team that you can't score on. Like you know, I remember the Ravens teams and that broke my heart a couple of times as a Raiders fan, where it was just like you knew once the Ravens got to 10 points, you were cooked. Like their offense couldn't score, but you knew you couldn't score on them. This feels sort of like I'm not a believer in Brock Purdy, and I'm not taking anything away from what he's accomplished so far this year. I think that through all of this, as you get more tape on a quarterback, come on,
look at you.
What? No, I'm out on Brock Purdy. I'm out.
You're not a believer in Brock Purdy.
I'm not a believer in Brock Purdy. He's the third string quarterback for a reason.
Well, Mr. Purdy has done nothing but be successful since becoming the starting quarterback for the San Francisco 49ers.
Yeah, well, okay, that's cool, and that at the end of the year,
has he looked better than Jimmy G?
That it gets you a blue ribbon.
He's looked
about the same. He's looked about the same.
Has he looked better than Jimmy G?
He's looked about the same.
Because
and if the 49ers, but if the 49ers thought that he was worth that at any point, then they wouldn't have spent a bunch of money to keep Jimmy G around for a year. Like Brock Purdy's an anomaly.
He was a rookie. He was the last pick in the NFL draft,
right? Which is going to show itself at some point in the playoffs. Like at some point, Brock Purdy's going to have to win you a football game. You going to bet the Harry Douglas compound because it's bigger than a mansion. It's a whole compound. Like there's Douglas City, Georgia. You going to bet Douglas City, Georgia on Brock Purdy to win a Super Bowl this year?
Hell to the no.
All right, there we go. There we go. I mean, the thing.
But I believe in the San Francisco 49ers. I believe in them as a football team, and I believe Brock Purdy has enough around him. You got to look at the players that they have, man. They just traded for Christian McCaffrey. He's been phenomenal for the team. George Kittle, since Brock Purdy has became a starting quarterback, has been phenomenal. You see I think he had 130-plus yards, 2 touchdowns the last game, 2 touchdowns the week prior to that as well. Brandon Ayuk has come a little bit more alive. Deebo Samuel is resting up. You have Kyle Juszczyk. You have so many offensive weapons
for
this football team that Brock Purdy doesn't have to be excellent. He just doesn't have to mess things up.
And I totally agree with all of that. And if the standard was just making the playoffs and making a run, I'm good with Brock Purdy. I believe at some point during the playoff process, you are going to need to rely on a quarterback. It just feels like that's always the way. Like it feels like it would be an outlier to think that you could. I know that there's the Trent Dilfer sort of analogy, right? But it feels like it's an outlier to think that you could just basically mask your quarterback, which is what I think great coaching and great talent around is basically putting him in a situation where Harry Douglas could be the quarterback of the 49ers and do really well this year, right? So like I just don't think this is a statement.
I need to get paid like it.
You want that quarterback money. For me, Purdy is fine. He's fine. But, like, there isn't a chance that I'm going to bet a bunch of money on Purdy going to the Super Bowl simply because at some point I believe in other teams more. So then the question becomes the Cowboys, right? Like, the Cowboys are the one team left in this, like, and I heard everybody yesterday tried to debate whether or not the win was a statement for the Cowboys against the Eagles or is a statement for the Eagles against the Cowboys. Like, I don't care about any of that. What I care about are entities that I feel like I can trust. And when I get into the playoffs, I want stars that I can trust. And so has Dak been Dan Marino? Bad example. He hasn't won a Super Bowl. Has Dak been Joe Montana? Maybe not. But do I believe that Dak can make the plays to win a football game? Yes. Do I believe that Dak has the talent around him? Yes. Do I believe that Micah Parsons and the defense particularly has the talent to make the plays? Yeah. So, like, I believe in proven entities at some point at quarterback, whether it's at the Super Bowl or playoffs.
But that's why I got to stop you. It hasn't been proven playoff-wise, though.
Sure.
It hasn't been proven in the playoffs, and that's the thing, though. But I will say this. I love what I've seen from Dak.
Who has in the NFC?
But see, I love what I've seen from Dak, though, against the Philadelphia Eagles, because when things were off the rails and, wasn't going right, Dak still stayed cool, calm, and collected. And the way he utilized his legs on 3rd and 5s and then potentially getting sacked and still finding Michael Gallup, and then down in the tight red zone, scrambling to the right, finding Michael Gallup for a touchdown, 3rd and 6, finding CeeDee Lamb. He could have went off the rails, and the offense could have went off the rails after that pick 6. It didn't. But the fact that your quarterback never wavered allowed you and allowed your offense to, stay calm and relax and not go in panic mode to the point of where they came out and won the game, and Dak played a hell of a game.
Think about
outside of that pick 6.
He's Harry Douglas. I'm Jason Fitz. Think about proof of concept. Just something I say too much. I understand. Proof of concept at the quarterback position. I never thought about it until you were just saying this.
The only one. Tom Brady's the only one.
And so the Eagles, Jalen Hurts, nothing there in the playoffs, right? We don't know. Dak Prescott, nothing in the playoffs you can bank on. Kirk Cousins, we all know the Kirk Cousins conversation.
You like that?
Yeah.
I mean, like that, Fitz?
So now suddenly it does, and right now you could be looking at if the Packers could go on a run, you could be looking at Aaron Rodgers, and then you have a question of if Tom Brady can hold off on the Buccaneers. But I think the Buccaneers are just a garbage football team this year. I don't think they're any good. So I'm not really worried about the Buccaneers, and the Packers become a little more interesting, but there just isn't proof of concept at the quarterback position. So maybe that does, to your point, maybe I'm willing to change my mind.
No, it's okay.
Still out on Purdy.
Can we tell people the conversations we have off air all the time? Coach I'm trying to tell you.
Yeah, he does.
At what point are you gonna listen to Coach?
Very, very little. Like I got you where I am by being stubborn and not listening to you at all. No, but you're right, and it's funny because the AFC has plenty of brands. Like brands.
You better have a quarterback if you think you're gonna compete in the AFC. Period. Because you can't tell me you're going to be the Mahomes, you're going to be the Burrow, you're going to be the Josh Allen, you're going to be the Lamar Jackson if you have a mediocre quarterback. Now, granted, the Tennessee Titans were able to do it a few years back when the Ravens had the number 1 seed, but Lamar was young at that point. You know what I mean? And you had Dean Pease, a guy that had played against that Greg Roman offense when he was with the Ravens back in the day when Greg Roman was with the San Francisco 49ers and running that offense with Colin Kaepernick. So I get all that. But you can't tell me you're going to go through the AFC with a mediocre quarterback and a guy that can't put it on his shoulders and make it to the Super Bowl. It's not happening.
Well, and that